going into the birth charts of these two and their synastry, and whoa, does it run deep with these two. They might have been compatible, but there's many squares, and there was many things to prove about the young age and, yeah, Elvis's tendencies, let's say, and how Priscilla provided them for him. So here we have Priscilla Presley's birth chart. You can see her ascendant is in Capricorn. You can see that means that her chart ruler and her dominant planet is Saturn. Saturn here in her chart is in her 7th house on the cusp of the 6th. Saturn is... God, how do I get myself in the shot? Saturn is... Oh, God. Saturn is where the... Oh... Is in where it says Cancer, is a planet that loops a bit and has a cross at the top, okay? So it's got a cross and then it goes down in a zag. Okay, so that represents her partner. Capricorn is older partner, so Elvis's physical first son would sit in her first house, which would be the chemistry, the attraction, his attraction to her attraction to him. His essence sits in her physicality, which makes sense, doesn't it? So her chart ruler is ruled by Cancer. Cancer is like the family, the heritage, the opposite to Capricorn. So the family, the mother, the mothering side is her chart ruler, and it rules her it's in her 7th house, and it represents the kind of partner she's going to attract. Now, many people said Elvis had a really weird relationship with his mother, and he'd sleep in bed with her up until a very late age. I know she had problems because Elvis was a twin, and when he was born, the twin died. But he went out with the lady who died, Natalie Wood, and she found it too weird that she ended up breaking up with him because of that weirdness with his mother. But here's the rest of her chart. Oh no, it's Elvis. Yep, so sorry, this is Priscilla's chart. Sun in Gemini, Moon in Scorpio, Mercury in Taurus, Venus in Aries, Mars in Aries, Jupiter in Virgo, Saturn in Cancer, Uranus in Gemini, Neptune in Libra, Pluto, Leo, North Node Cancer, which is interesting. It's in her 7th house. It got that placement, I understand it. So her lesson in life is challenges from relationships, and I get it, and I can see it. And she's got a Scorpio moon. I relate to it. I relate to how he could completely change her, and how she's still not over it. That water that's prevalent in her chart, and especially it being the leader of her chart ruler, is going to be really profound. And these guys knew it. I hate these men for that. So she was an absolute beauty, so it surprises me she's not a Cancer rising, but where I said she's got a lot of that Cancer energy, it's shining through, definitely, and it's her chart ruler, so yeah, that's going to be a big play to her. So yeah, she went through things very young. Capricorn, they grow up quickly. They often have thoughts of growing up, and they often age backwards, and like she kind of did if you look at pictures of her when she was really young, and then you see her like she gets more youthful, and also she's got that conjunction of her Mars and her Mars and Venus. I love that conjunction, but it's very intoxicating if you ever get with someone who's got their Mars and Venus in the same sign. Beware, because you might not be like me, but like beware, because it can be very intriguing and enticing. And also her Mars is in opposition to Elvis's Mars, so an opposition I always say is like easier than a square, I believe, in a chart. Sometimes not, sometimes it depends whether it's like fixed or not. This is a cardinal opposition, okay? So Mars direct about things, really up to the point. And she'd say Elvis would have people around and they'd never have any time together. He'd always have to have an entourage and be treated like the king. And she didn't want to treat him like that. Same with like Kim Mathers, like, you're not like God, okay? So yes, we have his Venus. So his Venus, Sun, Mercury, and North Node were all in his second house of finances, the house of which rules Taurus, and it's in a Capricorn. It's good because it likes to be. It's an Earth house anyway, so it's gonna like being there, which is why he could use his physical voice. You know, Mercury. Um, rules the lungs and that part of the body and being able to sing. So having like good lungs and that and being able to be a really good singer. He had the physical beauty of that, in which is his Venus is being in Capricorn. Very traditional, but like also very controversial. It's in the second house. On the North Node is in there, so that's like something he has had to aspire to be like that wasn't naturally who he was. So opposite his second house would be Cancer, which was containing Pluto in his eighth house. So having Pluto in the eighth house enhances that. So I wanted to see this with men who went out with younger women. If there was a strong Scorpio theme, Scorpio in the eighth house of things we cannot control in our chart. It rules the house of death, and it rules like not the greatest things in life. I'm not trying to scare people. If you have a stellium in this house, do not worry. Like if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But you can see things. That's why astrology is so interesting. Like you could say something about someone. Like let's have an example here with his chart. So his Uranus sits in his fifth house. He could have like in an Aries house. Okay, so his Uranus was in Aries, so he could have been like quite controversial, but in a very like aggressive dynamic way where he'd get over it quite quickly, be unpredictable because Uranus is unpredictability and it rules Aquarius, but in a very Aries like way. And it's in the fifth house, so it's going to have some Leo kind of traits to it. So he could be very arrogant with that Uranus there. And his Uranus is it squaring his Mars? No, it's in trine with his Mars, so yeah, they can work quite well together, but could also be quite sinister, if you see what I'm saying. And then his 11th house contains Jupiter, and it's in Libra, which is Mars is in Libra, which, like I said before, opposes Priscilla's Mars. Now, anyone with like Mars in Libra, I believe, like quite overly. Anyone with Libra placements, I believe, are overly charming and not very sincere with it all the time. So Libra, you want to sometimes think that you're not very sincere, and it can come across that way. And you need to realize that the ones closest to you matter the most. That they really should matter the most. And people who just like don't really care for you that much, like, because that is in my Scorpio mind of way of thinking. They don't, they're going to come and go, but the people that matter most are there, you know? But I suppose we all have our different ways of thinking, but it did affect his marriage, it did affect his life, it affected his weight, it affected his drug use, it affected his money. So that didn't work for him, and it's in a detriment sign. It's in a detriment sign, his Mars being in Libra. Mars doesn't like being in Libra. I mean, a good example of someone who's got it working well for them, and I'll have to look at aspects on their chart, is Kris Jenner. She's made it work for her really well. But Priscilla could have been moulded into. I get it so much, babe. I get it. I really, really fucking get it. It makes me sad with all the cancer that she's got in her chart, too. And how she's still not over it to this day, I believe. And when you really love someone, you really love someone, and that is that. And he would say, we both need to dye our hair black. You've got blue eyes too. And as a Scorpio moon, you're a very fragile soul anyway. And to find someone you really connect with, I can imagine how horrible it must have been for him to have people round all the time. As a Scorpio moon, that would have really like made me go into my shell too. So I'm sorry for anything bad I've ever said about Priscilla in the past. I get it now. I completely get it.